Lately, it feels like everyone's talking about Redding, California, and for good reasons. It's beautiful, it's more affordable, and it offers a slower pace of life. But here's the thing, what makes it a win for some people can be a total deal breaker for others. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Rooted in Redding. I'm Faith Barrett, your local guide to life here in Northern California. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel as we post weekly updates about Redding and the housing market as a whole. Today, we're breaking down the 7 biggest pros and cons of living in Redding, plus I got a bonus for you at the end. So you can see the full picture before you make the move here in our area, whether or not Redding makes sense for you and your family. So let's kick it off with number 1, which is the weather. Now, Redding has a very distinct weather pattern that every newcomer should understand. It's one of the sunniest cities in the country and one of the hottest. Summers here are long, dry, and intense. And when I say dry, I mean it isn't that sticky humidity feeling that you find in other parts of the country. The air is clear and crisp, but it's still really packed with a punch. We regularly see days in the upper 90s, and triple digits are a normal part of life from about May through September. In fact, Redding hit its hottest day ever recorded, which was 119 degrees last summer. That said, this past summer was probably one of the best summers we've had in a long time. The heat was milder, we didn't have those long stretches of 110 plus days, and we actually had a bit more flexibility to enjoy being outside even when it was in the high 90s. Now, on the other hand, winters are mild and rainy. You'll swap blazing afternoons for crisp mornings in the 40s and 50s, with most of our roughly 38 inches of annual rainfall coming between November and March. Now, snow is rare in town, but you'll find plenty of it near in Shasta or Lassen if you're craving a winter feel. Now, the upside is Redding averages about 249 sunny days a year, which means endless opportunities for lake days, hikes, or just soaking up the sunshine. But Redding is definitely not for everyone. If you love cooler coastal weather or a real true 4-season living, Redding's heat can be a bit of a shock, so it's definitely paradise for those who love the hotter temperatures, but it is worth knowing what you're signing up for before you actually move here to Redding. Now, number 2 is fire scores and utility cost. Now, Redding's cost of living isn't just about home prices, which it is pretty affordable, it's also about what it takes to maintain that home. And one thing many newcomers don't really realize is how much utilities and fire insurance can impact monthly expenses. So let's start with utilities. Depending on where you live, your provider could be Redding Electric Utility, aka known as REU, PG&E, or the City of Shasta Lake. Anything outside the city limits of Redding or Shasta Lake will be under PG&E, and that's where costs rise pretty quickly. PG&E current residential rate sits around 44 cents per kilowatt an hour, one of the highest in California, and inside Redding city limits, REU offers much more affordable and stable rates, around 15 cents per kilowatt after 2025 adjustments. Now, over in Shasta Lake, which we've talked about before, the city runs its own utilities company, and that averages between 16 cents to 20 cents per kilowatt, depending on the usage and the plan. So here's a quick breakdown. PG&E is the most expensive option in the region for electricity. REU is the cheapest and most stable, and the City of Shasta Lake is slightly higher than REU, but still far below PG&E. Now, your utility provider alone can make a major difference in your total cost of living, so it's definitely something to consider when you're looking at housing here. How does utilities play a factor into it, especially with the hotter temperatures we have in the summer, and how that could affect your utility bill? Now, let's talk about fire insurance, because this is one of the biggest cost variables for homeowners in our area as well as the state of California. We've done several videos breaking down California's ongoing fire insurance crisis, but here's the short version. Redding's higher wildfire risk, especially in certain foothill and west side areas, plays a huge role in how policies are priced. Our 2 main carriers that are backed by the state of California are Farmers Insurance and the California Fair Plan. There are also non-state backed carriers like SageSure, Bamboo, and Northern Lights that often provide more flexible or sometimes cheaper policy options. but those come with less state protection and some pros and cons that you have to figure out if it makes sense for you. Our most devastating local fire was the Carr Fire in 2018, which heavily impacted the west side of Reading and really reshaped how insurance companies viewed our area. Since then, as wildfires have increased statewide and the FEMA fire maps have been redrawn, many neighborhoods have seen their fire scores rise, which directly drive up premiums. Even though we haven't had any major fires here recently, we still feel the ripple effects of California's overall insurance crisis. Now, I get this question a lot. Well, Faith, what do you think insurance will cost here? And I will say it does vary based on the carrier, the size of the home, and exact location. But just to give you a general sense, I typically see that homes within city limits often fall somewhere between $25,000 to $4,000 per year, while properties outside of the city limits can range between $5,000 and $8,000 or more. Now, I'm not quoting any specific policy. I'm not saying that if you're in the city limits, you're going to be, with farmers insurance versus California Fair Plan. I mean, these are just rough estimates based on what I've seen and heard from clients moving here. But for many people relocating from other states, that kind of context can be a big eye-opener. So before saying yes to a property, it's definitely worth checking out your utility provider and the fire score for that address. For some, the lower housing costs make up for it. For others, these ongoing expenses could be a deal breaker. Number 3 is homelessness. Now, this is a sensitive topic, but one that's important to talk about honestly. Like many parts of California, Reading does have a visible homeless population, but it's important to keep the full picture in mind. Now, I've lived here my entire life, so I feel like I've seen a lot of different angles from this problem. Now, to give you a little bit of context, our city's population sits just shy of 91,000 people. So even a few 100,000 unhoused individuals can feel very noticeable than they might in a major metro area. Now, according to the most recent Shasta County point-in-time count, we have over a couple thousand people that were identified as experiencing homelessness, roughly half of whom were in temporary or supportive housing, and that ratio can make it seem very, more concentrated here simply because Reading is smaller. Whereas if you're in larger cities like Sacramento, San Francisco, or even Los Angeles, those total numbers may be, the homeless percentage might be down because the population, obviously, of those areas are much higher. So perspective definitely matters, because if you're moving here from a larger area, you might notice that what we experience in Reading feels far less overwhelming compared to what you've seen elsewhere. But if you're moving from a smaller town where maybe you don't have homeless issues as a problem or it's not as visible, it may take a little bit of adjustment. Both experiences are valid, but what gives me hope and what I'm really proud of is how our community continues to respond. We have many organizations like the Good News Rescue Mission, who provides daily meals, emergency sheltering, addiction recovery programs, and transitional housing to really help people get off the streets and into a better lifestyle. They're also building a $17.8 million residential treatment center to expand recovery services right next to their current existing campus. The other great local organization that we have here is the Children's Legacy Center, which focuses on families and children affected by trauma and domestic violence, providing prevention and healing resources to help break that cycle early. And beyond that, the city and the county are working toward a dedicated behavioral health facility, recognizing that untreated mental illness plays a major role in chronic homelessness. Now, these are just a few of the many organizations stepping up to find long-term solutions and support for people in need. It's also worth noting that homelessness in Reading isn't something you see everywhere. There are definitely more noticeable, more concentrated parts due to certain corridors and parks. So at the end of the day, no city is perfect. Reading faces its share of challenges, but it's also a place where people care deeply about creating solutions, not just talking about them. So yes, you will see homelessness here, but you will also see community programs, churches, and volunteers showing up every single day to hopefully make a difference in our community. And that's the heart of Reading, and it's one of the reasons I'm proud to call this place home. Number 4 is limited dining and shopping. Now, one of the things people notice pretty quickly after moving to Reading is that our dining and shopping scene is, a little limited. On the pro side, that actually means it's easier to support locals. You'll find small businesses, family-owned restaurants, and boutique shops that genuinely appreciate your business, and you'll probably start to recognize the owners after a few visits. But on the flip side, if you're coming from a big metro area with endless food and retail options, the change can feel a little bit noticeable. We have great spots from local favorites downtown like Pipeline Craft Kitchen, Market Street Steakhouse, Mosaic, Cafe, Paradiso, and Vintage, but we do lack a lot of options for true fine dining. That's, just largely due to our population size and the pace of our economy. That said, there's a lot of positive movement happening right now. A few well-known restaurants have recently sold, and I'm genuinely excited to see how the new ownership will help elevate our local dining scene. And one of the biggest steps forward is the public market opening downtown at the end of this year. We've talked a lot about it, but it's going to bring together multiple local food vendors and create a fresh, vibrant experience for both locals and visitors. When it comes to shopping, we definitely have most of the essentials like Costco, Save Mart, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, but not a ton of big brand variety. So if you love weekend trips to bigger clothing outlets or larger stores like IKEA, be ready to drive a bit. Most people make a trip to Sacramento or Chico every so often, which is about an hour and a half to 2.5 hours away, just to mix things up. So yes, our dining and shopping options are limited. On the flip side, you'll find yourself supporting small businesses, enjoying familiar faces, and spending more time on connection than consumption. It's one of the small town quirks that some people grow to really love here. Number 5 is outdoor recreation. Now, one of the biggest reasons people fall in love with Redding is our access to outdoors. We are surrounded by some of the most beautiful landscapes in Northern California, and for anyone who loves being outside, it's a dream. So on the pro side, you've got endless adventure right in your backyard. Within 30 minutes, you can be hiking to Whiskeytown Falls, paddleboarding on Shasta Lake, mountain biking the Sacramento River Trail, or watching the sunset from the Sundial Bridge. We've got national parks, lakes, and forests in nearly every direction, like Lassen Volcano National Park to the east, Mount Shasta to the north, and the Trinity Alps just a short drive west. That access to nature is one of the things that makes Redding so special. It's not unusual for people here to spend their mornings on the trails or their afternoons on the water, and with nearly 250 days of sunshine like we talked about, you can do it almost year-round. But on the flip side, if you're somebody who prefers a big city entertainment scene or more indoor-focused activities, Redding might take some adjusting to. We don't have major sports teams, huge concert venues, or an endless list of nightlife options. Here, life really revolves around the outdoors, hiking, boating, camping, and weekend road trips. Still, there's something really grounding about living in a place where you can drive 10 minutes and be completely surrounded by mountains, water, and quiet. And it's one of the biggest reasons people move here and one of the hardest things to leave behind once you do. Number 6 is healthcare in Redding. Now, healthcare is one of those topics that often gets overlooked when people think about moving here, until it becomes really important. So this may be really focusing on people that are considering retiring in Redding. Now, in Redding, it's an area where we have seen both challenges and exciting progress. On the con side, we do face some of the typical hurdles that come with living in a smaller, more rural community. Access to primary care and specialty providers can be limited, and wait times are often longer than in major metro areas. For certain treatments or advanced specialties, or complex surgeries, many residents still need to travel to Sacramento, the Bay Area, or further. Now, our local medical system works incredibly hard, but like many rural regions, it's stretched thin. There's a real shortage of doctors and nurses, and the demand keeps growing, especially with our aging population and the number of retirees moving here. Now, being in the healthcare system myself, I actually have my nursing license. That was my first career. There is a lot of good news on the pro side. Redding is investing heavily in healthcare, like I said, and one of the biggest examples is the Sierra Pacific Regional Cancer Center, which is a brand new state-of-the-art facility that's opening hopefully in 2026. It's a $70 million project designed to bring advanced cancer treatment right here to Redding, reducing the need for patients to go to Sacramento, the Bay Area, or or, extended period of travel time for specialized care. Beyond that, both of our main hospitals, Mercy Medical Center and Shasta Regional, have been expanding their services, and we're seeing more urgent care clinics, specialty offices, and telehealth options than ever before. These improvements are making it easier for residents to get care faster and closer to home, and you can really feel the momentum. Reading is a city that's taking its healthcare future seriously. So while Reading still faces challenges when it comes to provider availability, the direction we're heading is incredibly promising. The new Cancer Treatment Center is just one of the examples of the progress happening behind the scenes, and it represents something bigger, a community working to close the rural healthcare gap and provide better access for everyone. Number 7 is the job market. Let's talk about work, because while Reading offers an incredible lifestyle, the job market here is definitely different and has its nuances. On the pro side, Reading job market offers a mix of stability and opportunity, especially in the healthcare, education, construction, manufacturing, and retail. The average annual wage sits around $59,200, and one of the best perks of working here is the short commute times, often under 15 minutes. That means less time in traffic and more time with family, hobbies, or enjoying the outdoors. The number of local businesses has continued to grow, driven by small business owners, entrepreneurs, and a rising remote work population. For people who value work-life balance and want to build a life in a lower cost, less hectic environment, Reading really does check a lot of boxes, but on the flip side, earning potential here is still below California's larger metros. Reading ranks 34 out of 58 counties in average wages, and while income levels are climbing, they don't always match what you'll find in places like Sacramento or the Bay Area. Industries like retail and tourism, which employ a large portion of our workforce, tend to offer lower average pay. Thanks to Shasta EDC for this information. Now, the unemployment rate hovers around 5.5%, slightly higher than some coastal cities, and professionals in very specialized fields might find limited opportunities for rapid career growth or advancement without looking to larger markets nearby. So it's definitely a trade-off. For many, the lower cost of living, flexible pace, and quality of life outweigh the lower wage averages, but if you're someone whose career depends on a competitive, corporate ladder or specialized industry network, it's something to weigh carefully. Reading's job market reflects its community, steady, growing, and full of people who value balance and connection over hustle and burnout. But for the right person, that's not a limitation, it's a lifestyle upgrade. Now, bonus number 8 is housing affordability, because as a local realtor, I feel like I have the most knowledge around this. Now, as we talked a lot before, Reading comes on people's radar because of affordability. On the pro side, Reading continues to stand out for its housing prices compared to most of California. As of 2025, the Zillow Home Value Index for single-family homes in Shasta County sits around $379,200, making it the 16th most affordable county in the state. Home prices here are over 50% lower than the California average, and Reading ranks 15th in the state for affordable housing when compared to local incomes. That makes it a huge win for first-time homebuyers, growing families, or anyone looking to trade a high mortgage payment for more space, sunshine, and peace of mind. Ownership rates are also strong. About 65% of residents here own their homes, which is well above most major metro areas and reflects how attainable home ownership still is compared to other parts of California. But on the flip side, prices are slowly creeping up. Over the past year, the median home price in Reading has slowly started to rise, and competition remains steady as more buyers look to areas like ours for better value outside of expensive metro areas. And while affordability is one of Reading's biggest draws, wages still rank 34 out of 58 counties, which means that for some households, especially those moving from higher paying cities, the gap between income and housing costs can take some adjusting. Renters also don't see quite the same benefit, since rental prices tend to rise alongside home values. So while Reading is far more affordable than coastal California, the key takeaway is this: affordability here is real, but it's also relative. Compared to the rest of the state, you will absolutely get more house for your money. Just know that our market is growing, and that balance between value and demand is what's shaping the next chapter of Reading's housing story. So as we wrap this up, is Reading right for you? Well, like any place, it depends on what you're looking for. Definitely, this city is built on sunshine, space, and community with incredible outdoor access and a slower, more intentional pace of life. But it also comes with its reality: summer heat, higher insurance costs, and a smaller job market, and the other cons that we discussed. For many people, those trade-offs are more than worth it, and Redding offers a kind of balance that's hard to find anywhere else. Affordable homes, short commutes, no traffic, and a community that really cares. It's definitely been home for me. It's a place where, you can breathe a little bit deeper, stretch your dollar a little farther, and be part of something that's still growing and evolving. If you're considering a move, take the time to visit, explore, and see how life feels here. I always tell anybody considering Redding, visit it on a weekend, visit it in the wintertime, visit it in the summertime. Really understand, does this lifestyle match what you're looking for? Because whether it's the trails, the people, or the pace, Redding has a way of winning people over one sunny day at a time. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. I'd love to hear which of these pros or cons stood out to you the most. And as always, thanks for watching Rooted in Redding, where we not only help you find a home, but a community to thrive in. We will catch you next week.